Hey guys, it's Bobi, aka Paginator, and this is part one of books I learned about from my teacher book conference. So I've mentioned in a few videos that I recently attended a conference put on by the Bureau of Education and Research for middle and high school teachers and librarians, focusing on new books that came out in 2023 that are great for kids in that age range. And I've had several comments about, yes, we'd love to learn about the books and that kind of stuff. So I am going to share with you. Now, at this conference, we learned about over 250 books. So I'm not going to share all of those. That would be ridiculous. I am going to share the same ones with you that I'm sharing with my students. And there's a lot of them. So I'm going to split this video into two parts. And then I also am going to have a Google document linked in the space below with the list of titles. Now, I'm not going to give you all the resources that came from that training. That's not fair to the presenter and the Bureau of Education and Research. That's their work. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to make a list of books and titles, and I will also indicate in that list whether they're for middle school, high school, or both. So, because these books are in my classroom, 99% of them anyway, I'm just going to be popping up pictures, and that means that I need to scoot to one side or the other so I can put pictures in the frame. Let's go like this. Okay. So we're going to start with the category of books in verse, and our first book is Dear Mothman by Robin Gao. This is a book about Noah, who's a trans boy, and halfway through Noah's 6th grade year, his only trans friend and his only real friend anyway, Lewis, it dies in a car accident. And so he's going through this grief, this loss, like, this is the only other person who understood me and that kind of thing. And so Noah starts writing letters to this Mothman creature that urban legend has it lives in the woods near his town. What is my hair doing? Okay. And he's pretty sure that Mothman is real and will understand his grief and his feelings. So he decides that he wants to do his science fair project on the Mothman, and his teachers are like, no, you need to pick something real. And he's like, it is real. In the meantime, there are a group of girls that he's always been friendly with at school, but never close to, and they're starting to embrace him more into their group. So that's good, but I'm sure, like, there's probably also some guilt that comes with that, thinking, like, my best friend's gone, am I betraying my best friend by being friends with these people now? And ultimately, he's going to decide to go into the woods and look for Mothman himself because he is certain that Mothman is real. The next book I'm going to talk about is a novel in verse that came out quite a while ago. It is Garvey's Choice by Nikki Grimes, but it's been made into a graphic novel version. So even though the graphic novel is new, the original book is in verse and it's been around for a little bit. This is about a young man named Garvey who, he's a little on the pudgy side. He's not super athletic, even though his dad really wants like a super athlete kind of kid. But Garvey's more into like science fiction, reading, and astronomy. And he has one friend. And this friend talks him into joining the school choir. And there Garvey learns that he can sing. And he's pretty good at it. And he's going to learn to develop this new interest and learn to love and accept himself more, even if his father doesn't necessarily approve of his hobbies. The next book we have is Suspended by Jason Reynolds. It's another one of his Miles Morales books. And in this one, Miles Morales just saved the day like yesterday, saved the world from this evil villain. And what does he get for it? Suspended. So he's spending the day in ISS, or in school suspension, and he notices this weird buzzing sound, and he discovers this little termite. Now, would a Spider-Man book really be about a conflict with a real actual bug? No. So we know already that there's something more than meets the eye with this little bug. And what's Miles gonna do about it? Hopefully he doesn't get suspended again. Our next category is National Book Award semifinalists and finalists, and we'll also see the winner in here. This next book is The Lost Year by Catherine Marsh. And a few years before Russia invaded Ukraine, she decided that she wanted to write a book about some of her Ukrainian ancestors. They lived through something called the some, I'm gonna have to look up the exact word. My apologies. My notes like cut off half of my printing, but it's this thing that happened where back in the 1930s, Russia was occupying Ukraine and was starving millions of people. Lots of people died, and so our author's great-grandmother experienced this. In the book, she has 2 time periods going on. So in the last year, we have beginning of the pandemic. A young man, Matthew, is stuck at home and feeling anxious and unsure about things. And he starts to learn about his great-grandmother and the fact that she went through this experience in the Ukraine. And so we're seeing both characters in 2 different timelines, one in 2020 and one in 1930. This next book, it makes me laugh every time I talk about it. It's actually 2 books. It's a graphic novel series by Huda Fahmy. I'm not exactly sure how you say her last name. The books are Huda FRU and Huda F Cares. So this is a graphic novel series about Huda. It is like kind of autobiographical, and she is a young Muslim girl growing up in America. She has a lot... Oh, I just knocked over the cabbage pot hat. Oops. I'll clean that up later. Huda has a lot of sisters, and they get into some funny situations. One of the sisters is like the mysterious one, and you never see her face, which I think is super funny. There are also some serious moments because, as you can imagine, being a Muslim girl in the United States, she's not always treated with the most kind behavior. Our next book is A First Time for Everything by Dan Santat, and this is the National Book Award winner. It is a graphic novel, and it was wonderful. I loved it. This is about Dan, and this is another where the author's doing a graphic novel about their younger years, so true story. Dan travels to France, Germany, Switzerland, and England on a school trip. Can you imagine taking middle schoolers on a school trip across Europe? No. Anyway, there are some girls from his school, and they happen to be the girls that love to tease him, so he's super thrilled about that. But they join up with some kids from another school, and they're traveling around these different countries, and part of the trip, I think it's when they're in Germany, they stay with like a host family for a while, and they get to experience lots of things, including some of his very first experiences of certain life things, like the first time he ever had Fanta, and the first time he ever had fondue, the first time he stole a bike, hopefully the last time, and his first love. So it was a really fun book, and I highly, highly recommend it. Up next, we have 3 books involving podcasts, and all of these are mysteries. So they're going to have very similar vibes. The first book is What Happened to Rachel Riley. This is about Anna, who is the new girl at East Middle School, and she notices that her 8th grade class, there's something weird going on. There is this girl, Rachel Riley, and last year she was like super popular, queen bee, and now she's outcast. Nobody wants to talk to her, sit by her, anything. But nobody will tell her what happened, not even Rachel. She won't say, like, this is why they don't like me. Nobody will tell her. And she loves podcasts, especially mysteries and that kind of stuff. So she decides to host a podcast and investigate what happened to Rachel Riley. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but some of these books I have already read and some I have not. So just FYI. Our next book is Missing Clarissa, and it starts off with a girl going missing. Her name is Clarissa, and she is a cheerleader. In August of 1999, she was at a party in the woods near this small Washington state town, and she goes missing, and she's never found. 20-some years later, still no idea. The case has gone cold long ago. We don't know if Clarissa's alive or dead, although statistics will tell us she's probably gone. So we have 2 high school juniors in this same small town where Clarissa's from, who are going to do a podcast. I think their names are Blair and Cameron, if I remember correctly. And they're going to do a podcast / investigation into what happened to Clarissa. Quite a similar situation in this next one. This is Girl Forgotten by April Henry, who is like a great go-to if you need middle school / high school mysteries. Okay, her books are usually pretty safe for middle schoolers, but are enjoyed by high schoolers also. So in this one, similar situation, we've got a cold case. So 17 years earlier, a girl called Layla was murdered. Her killer was never found. So we have Piper and Jonas, who are going to be our podcast hosts / investigators. And the danger is that the killer's still out there somewhere. So Piper and Jonas are going to be like possibly putting themselves in the killer's viewpoint, like making themselves a target by doing this investigation in such a public way. Next category is historical fiction, and for this book, we're going to go back to the 80s. I was a kid back in the 80s. It was a grand time to be alive. Well, for some people, I guess. Not so much for Iris. So Iris is the main character of this book, World Made of Glass, and on the very first page, we learn that Iris's father is dying. Iris's mom and dad split up quite a while ago because dad was gay, and he tried to live that straight life for a while, and it just didn't work out. So she and her mom live in one apartment, and then up a couple of floors, dad and dad's partner live in a different apartment, and dad is literally on his deathbed. They brought in a hospital bed in the apartment to take care of him in his last days because he is dying from AIDS. So Iris is trying to deal with that. She and her father have always written each other beautiful poems, so we're going to see a lot of poems in the book back and forth. And Iris is going to learn about activism and speaking up and how there are these medications that are being tried out for AIDS, but the government's not wanting to release them yet. And there's a lot of fighting against the prejudice and misinformation that was just running rampant in the 80s about this particular issue. So it is, it does deal with some tough issues, and then there is another part that comes in later that will just make you cry. Possibly if you're a crier while you read, this one might get you, so be warned. Next, we're going to go into some adventure books, and this first one, Thieves' Gambit by Kavion Lewis. This one is one that I absolutely adored. It might be, I keep trying to decide what are my top books from this training, and I think out of the ones I'm going to tell you about today, this is in my top 3. Okay? So this is about a girl called Ross Quest. She and her family are a family of super thieves. They run heists and all kinds of stuff all over North America and in the Caribbean, and she and her mom are on a mission one day, and something goes wrong and her mom is taken captive. The captors announce a ransom of $1 billion to be paid within a month. Ross is like, yeah, a billion? I don't think so. But she has been invited to join the Thieves' Gambit, which is an infamous kind of competition for teenage thieves, and the winner gets a wish. And it can't be a wish that's unrealistic, like, I want a sparkly flying pony. Nothing like that, but it can be something that is within this organization's ability to do, and getting $1 billion to save her mom is something they could do. So this is her chance to save her mother. Another thing complicating this is that Ross has been taught her whole life not to trust anyone, and so she goes into this competition, and some of the tasks involve her trusting other people that are in the competition, and she's got to figure that out. There's also a boy who's flirting with her really hard, and she's like, dude, back off, you're just trying to mess with my head and mess me up in the competition. But he seems to really genuinely like her, so that's another issue that she's going to have to tackle. As I said, I really, really enjoyed this one. If you like the inheritance games or any of those heist like movies kind of stuff, I think you would like this book. Our next one is a Carl Hiaasen book, and I forgot to write down notes about this one, but so I'll tell you what I remember. Our main character is a young man whose 7 times great-grandfather used to salvage shipwrecks. So because of that, he's very proud of that. He calls himself Wrecker, and he's going to have an adventure with a wreck of his own. Plus, it's going to involve some looters and some iguanas, and the book trailer made sure to point out that the iguanas like to poop. Anyway, you can check out the book trailer for this one on YouTube if you want to get more information, or look it up on Goodreads or something. But another cool thing that you see in this book trailer is that they're doing new cover designs for a lot of Carl Hiaasen's middle school books, like Chomp and Scat and Flush and stuff. They have cool new covers. So if you have kids in your life that judge books by covers, but you feel like they'd like one of his books, this might be a good time to snatch one for him, for that person, because they're getting these new covers that are really fun. Up next, we have a book called Hands, and this is a different kind of adventure in the fact that this is an adventure to protect someone's family, and it's pretty serious. Our main character, Trev, is struggling with an abusive stepfather, and he wants to protect his mom and sisters. Trev is also an artist, and he's quite good, and Trev decides that he's going to take up boxing so that he can learn some defense. But his mom's like, no, honey, what if you cripple your hands and you can't become an artist someday? And he's like, yeah, but that's someday. Our family needs help now. I'm going to do this. So will he be able to train? Will he be able to help his family? I mean, that's not really his job as the kid. But unfortunately, we know that in this world, some kids get put into situations like this. And it's tough to think about. But that's the situation that he is in. And hopefully he will be successful. Up next, we have a new book from Evie Zoboy, who is a wonderful, wonderful writer. I usually am okay with my middle schoolers reading her books, but I put a YA sticker on them, meaning there's a little bit more grown-up stuff in there, a little more edgy stuff. This one is about a girl called Nigeria, and her parents have raised her in this black separatist group, and I think it means they're in kind of like a commune with just black families and stuff. I'm not 100% sure, because I haven't read it yet, but Nigeria's mom goes missing, and all of a sudden she's got a baby brother to take care of, and she's like being pushed into this role of substitute mom. And to add more complication to her life, her mom always wanted her to go to this Quaker school that's outside of her strict community. Now, Quakers have a reputation of being very welcome, very loving, so there's probably going to be a large, diverse population at this school because they're very welcoming of everyone. So she's probably going to be meeting all kinds of new people at this school, and for sure there's going to be a girl there who used to be her friend. So complications there. And to top it all off, she's trying to find out what happened to her mother. She's going to discover something shocking. I don't know what that is, but the Goodreads blurb says that she's going to uncover a shocking truth. Up next, we have Barely Floating by Lilian Rivera. This is a middle school girl, Nat, who loves to swim. She's a great racing swimmer, and it's just like her favorite thing. She is a little bit on the overweight side, and one day she goes and sees this group called the Mermaids, who are like synchronized swimmers, and she falls in love with synchronized swimming and thinks, okay, this is gonna be it. This is what I want to do now. Mom and dad are concerned. Okay, dad's a professor, mom's an activist, and they know how the world works. And out of protectiveness toward their daughter, they're like, okay, but honey, do you see all these girls over here? They're like white skinny girls. Are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want to do? Because of course, they're worried about their daughter's well-being, emotionally, mentally, all that stuff. So she has all brothers. She knows how to fight for what she wants, and she is determined to make this happen. And she's gonna work hard to become a synchronized swimmer. We have Grounded, and this is actually by 4 different authors, but it's usually listed under the first one, Aisha Saeed. And we have 4 young Muslim kids who are stuck together in an airport. A huge thunderstorm hits right after a big Muslim convention, and all these flights are grounded, so they're there. We have Feek, who's taking care of his younger sibling. His dad is a famous rapper and poet, and he also wants to be a poet. We have... Sorry, my notes got cut off when they printed. What's that one girl's name? Hannah, I think. She is looking for a lost cat, and she's also trying to avoid her dad because she thinks he's going to try to announce to her that he's getting remarried, and she doesn't want to know. Sammy is struggling with his anxiety, and he's worried about missing a karate tournament that he's been training really hard for. And then... Oh, shoot. The 4th character is the one I always forget her name, and it's cut off on my notes. Just to show you what I'm dealing with, I printed the slides, and it just cut off the notes. So that's really nice. Okay, so let's call her Anna for now. She is dealing with the pressure of being a daughter of a prominent congresswoman, and all she really wants to do is make fun knock-knock videos. And I think knock-knock is this book's version of TikTok. So these 4 kids are stuck together, and I'm trying to remember if the presenter told us if there was a mystery they had to solve or not. It just seems like there was something about that in there too. I've been giving this presentation to my students today, so this is like the 7th time I've talked about this book. I am really sorry if I am talking too fast or getting kind of rambly. My throat hurts and I'm tired of talking. Also, after school, I had to go work at the Scholastic Book Fair. I'm working there every night this week. I'm like, it's fun, but it's still like staying at work for 2.5 hours after you could leave. Why? Okay, back to the books. Jacqueline Woodson, Remember Us. You might know Jacqueline Woodson from Brown Girl Dreaming or any of her other amazing books. This one is about Sage, who feels like her world is burning down around her. Some of it actually literally, because her neighborhood, I want to say it's in Brooklyn, somewhere in New York anyway. There's some buildings that have actually burned to the ground, but she wants to spend this summer playing basketball and hanging out with her guy friends. I think she's in her summer before 8th grade, if I remember right. And she also has this group of girls that she's kind of been friendly with, but not like super close with, that are kind of wanting to pull her in and make her a part of their group, and she's not sure she can deal with that. I listened to the audiobook on this one, and I will be honest, it's not my favorite Jacqueline Woodson book that I've ever read. It's still good. It's not like I wouldn't recommend it, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay. Are you ready for a song break? They say we're young and we don't know. We won't find out until we grow. This next book is called I Got You, Babe, named for the famous Sonny and Cher song. This is about Mac and Amy, who are middle school students, and their local middle school fun fair / Pride Carnival is having a talent show. And Mac gets the brilliant idea to cast himself and Amy as Sonny and Cher and do a lip sync to I Got You, Babe. He's going to be Cher, Amy's going to be Sonny, and it's going to be great, and they're going to win, and he's sure that it's going to be amazing. But Amy's not too excited about it, so it is a tale of friendship and working together on something. Also, lots of fun things about Cher. It is a tiny, tiny book, only 112 pages, though. So up next, we're going to talk about a few books to deal with immigration, just 2, I think. Mexikid is a graphic novel. It's another autobiographical graphic novel, and it is about Pedro Martin, and he has grown up hearing all these tales about his legendary abuelito, his grandfather. He fought in the Mexican Revolution or was involved in that in some way, and he was like crime fighting and all this stuff, and Pedro finds out that abuelito's going to be coming from Mexico to move in with him and his family here in the U.S., and Pedro's not sure how he feels about this because he's met Grandpa one time and he remembers him being grouchy. Sorry, I just lost my brain. Pedro has 8 siblings and the house is already pretty full, and he's like, yeah, plus another person. But they all pile into the family Winnebago and take a road trip down to Mexico to get Grandpa. There's lots of funny moments. There are some sad ones as well. But it is a great, fun family road trip kind of book. Another graphic novel is Parachute Kids, and yet another one inspired by the author's life. In this one, the main character, Feng Li, she and her older siblings and parents are coming from Taiwan to the United States for a vacation. They're in California, so I'm assuming they're doing like the Disneyland thing, that kind of stuff. And at the end of the vacation, mom and dad leave the kids there and go back to Taiwan. Apparently this is a thing that happens sometimes. They left their kids there, like, hoping they'll make a good life in America, and so Feng Li is going to a new school where she doesn't speak the language, and her older brother and sister are fighting all the time, and they're just trying to stay together as a family, and it's a little bit crazy. Our next category is Indigenous books, so featuring characters of Native American origin. Our first one is a nonfiction by Joseph Bruchac. If you're looking for Native American books, look up Joseph Bruchac. He has tons. He's a great writer. But this is a nonfiction one, and it deals with the Native American occupation of Alcatraz. So when you go to Alcatraz, they will tell you about this. I went there a couple years ago when my dad was working in San Francisco. I went to visit him, and we went out there. I got to tour the prison and stuff, and it was really cool. But part of that history is that in 1969, 89 young Native American activists went across San Francisco Bay in the dark of night and took over the island. And they held that island in their, like, like as an important part of their culture, and it belonged to their people. And so they're in their minds, they're like, we're taking our land back. And so they were able to keep control of that for a period of time. Of course, now we know it's back into the hands of the state of California, and it's like this tourist thing, and hundreds of people visit there every year and all kinds of stuff. Probably hundreds every day. This next book is Mascot by Charles Waters and Tracy Sorrell, and it is another one of my top 3 from what I'm going to tell you about today. This is a novel in verse, and it is told from 7 different points of view, 6 students and 1 teacher. Mostly the students are doing the storytelling. The teacher pops in every now and again. And these are 8th grade students in an honors English class. They attend a school in Washington, D.C. where the mascot is not the Redskins, the Braves. It was like some kind of Native American name. The Braves. And a couple of the students are pretty upset that that's the mascot, especially one new girl who is Native American herself. There's a white girl, bless her heart, in this class who wants to be a right fighter and tries so hard. Sometimes she goes about it the wrong way, but she's trying. And we have some other students as well, all from different backgrounds. And the English teacher assigns this as a debate topic, and they have to research it and find out more about it. And it kind of becomes this campaign where they try to convince the school board to change the school's mascot. This book will make you think. I found myself kind of questioning my thoughts, going, okay, what do I think about this? And what do I think about this? And so I've been encouraging my students, like, stretch your minds a little bit. Pick up this book or another one that you think is going to challenge your thinking, and question yourself a little bit. Like, is it okay to, like, change my mind, or at least look at somebody else's point of view on something? The next one is Two Tribes. This is another graphic novel, and this is about Mia. She lives in Los Angeles with her Jewish mom and stepdad. Her biological dad is a Muskogee Indian, Native American, He lives in Oklahoma with his new wife and 2 little kids, and he wants Mia to come visit him. She doesn't know very much about her native side. She knows a lot about her Jewish side because she goes to a Jewish school. But she's trying to learn how both sides of her heritage fit and how she can kind of balance them. And she wants to go see her dad, but mom does not like dad. He wasn't a good husband to her when they were together, and I think he cheated. But Mia decides, you know what, if I don't tell mom exactly where I'm going, maybe I can go anyway. So I've been encouraging my students to never do that to their parents, because their parents will about die and then kill them when they get the kids back in their hands. Anyway, so that was an interesting one. I really enjoyed that graphic novel because it was looking at 2 very different cultures and how they could work together. And the last Indigenous one I have is Harvest House. This one I am going to let my middle schoolers read, but I put a YA sticker on it. And this is about Huey Wolf, who is a Native kid, and he lives in a community with quite a few Native people, not all, but quite a few. And he is a theater kid, but their fall play gets shut down due to budget constraints, and he decides that he's going to volunteer for the local haunted house so he can do at least a little bit of acting. But he starts to notice that some of the, like, scenes and stuff from the haunted house are kind of like maybe portraying negative things about Native Americans, or like making light of bad ways that some of them have died, and it's probably not a great thing. So he has to decide what to do about that. And then we also have some Native women being attacked by mysterious figures. And there's this character who narrates some of the chapters called Celeste. And at first we don't know if she's human or spirit or what, but she becomes an important part of the story later on. Our next category is mental health. And this first book is The Gray by Chris Barron. This is about a young man named Sasha, and he's been bullied by someone he thought was a friend, and he's got anxiety, depression, there's all kinds of things, and he feels like this just gray cloud is always around him. And he's learned some strategies to help him deal, but it still sometimes doesn't feel like quite enough. And he has some friends and family that are supportive, including an aunt and uncle who have kind of introduced him to a horse. And we know that animals like have emotionally healing powers. They just do. Like when I am at home in my parents' house and I'll just sit and pet the cat for a while, or I'll go out to the horses and just talk to them and stuff. That it's just a healing thing to be around animals. So hopefully that's going to help him deal with some of the stuff that he's got going on. The next one is Simon Sort of Says by Erin Bow. This one is about Simon O'Keefe, who wishes that he was known for something else, like the time that his dad accidentally gave Holy Sacrament to a squirrel, or this alpaca video that went viral on YouTube. But what he's really known for is that kid that survived a school shooting, the only one in his class. So 2 years after this shooting, Simon's now 12, and he and his family are moving to the National Quiet Zone. It's a place in America where the internet is banned. And most of the people who live there are scientists, and they spend their time listening for sounds of life in outer space. And so Simon thinks this is great. Okay, they don't have the internet, so maybe they won't know who I am, and maybe I can join in like the sciencey activities and stuff and do some exploring of my own, find like this new identity other than just being the kid that survived. Up next is The Labors of Hercules Beale. This book, another one in my top 3. It was phenomenal. I listened to the audiobook. Loved it so much. Hercules and his brother Achilles, yes, they're really named that. Their parents died in a terrible car crash. Achilles is old enough that he can be Hercules' guardian, and together they run the family business, which is a nursery, plant store, etc. And Hercules is starting at a new school, and it's a school that seemed targeted to environmental science. And one of his new teachers is a military guy, and he gives each of the kids a different assignment to help them relate classical mythology to their lives now. And Hercules' assignment is to recreate the 12 labors of Hercules from classical Greek mythology and to write about each one. And as Hercules Beale in the book performs the 12 labors of Hercules, the Greek guy, and thinks about how they apply to his life, he's starting to heal a little bit. There are some funny moments in this book. There are also some parts that are a little bit more serious and sad, as you might imagine, but it was so beautiful. My coworker, who's a 6th grade language arts teacher, she read it before I did, and she has now reading it to all of her students because she loves it that much. Okay, 2 more books. The first one is a romancy middle grade graphic novel. We have BFFs Grace and Lola, and they are intrigued and discuss with each other about all things romance. Like, okay, that popular girl has this boyfriend, and the goth girl has this boyfriend, and like, boys, what are they anyway? They're kind of weird, and we can't quite figure them out. And so they decide that they're going to do a school report called the Love Report about romance. They're going to research, observe, etc. And through this process, they're going to find out some things about themselves as well. And the last book in part 1 of this 2-part series will be The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Our trainer had this in her romance book section. I would not put it there. I would put it more in an adventure or mystery. This is book 4 in the Inheritance Game series. The first 3 books were told from Avery Graham's point of view. She inherited this billions and billions of dollars, like $30 billion, I think. And in book 4, the narration is now switched to Grayson and Jameson, the Hawthorne brothers, who are the grandsons of the man who gave Avery everything. She is in a relationship with Jameson, and so we get to see Avery there. Jameson's father, his biological father, has reached out to him and said, I need a favor. I need you to do this. And what he needs him to do involves getting invited into London's most lucrative gambling club. And so he and Avery have to get themselves invited, and then they have to get invited to a more lucrative and like secretive elite thing that's this competition, and if they win that, they get a wish or like a big favor or something, kind of like in the Thieves Gambit. And so Jameson's father wants him to go and win it and get back the ancestral home that he lost because he's a gambling addict. Grayson is also dealing with the situation. His stepsisters are being threatened by some not good people, and they don't really know about him and the fact that they have a stepbrother, and they don't know that their father, which is Grayson's biological father, is dead, and it's kind of a whole mess. So these 2 brothers have both got their each own things to solve, and we're going to see all 4 of the brothers as well as Avery come in and like in and out of each story. High action, really fun. Yeah, if you've read the first 3 books, then definitely go read this one. And that's going to be it for part 1. You can check out part 2 of this coming soon on a channel near you. Or this channel. So we'll see you in the next one, and have a wonderful, magical, and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.